When risk no longer feels smart, your path is already narrowing. Because when taking a risk begins to feel reckless, you stop expanding, you start protecting, and protecting becomes default. That's what dependence does. It doesn't ruin your business, it makes bold moves feel wrong. Nothing has to go wrong. You still have clients, money still comes in, your calendar is still staying full, and people still rely on you. On the surface, everything looks solid, but underneath, something's changing. Opportunities that once felt real exciting now feel real risky. Moves that you would have considered 5 years ago now feel so unnecessary. Not because they stopped working, but because your tolerance levels change. And tolerance determines growth. Dependence doesn't remove risk, it changes how you feel about it. And once your feelings about risk change, your behavior changes also. This is where stability starts to become normal. When income starts to feel steady, steady feels like it's required. You protect what works, you refine what's stable, you improve what already exists. Experimenting feels way less important, not banned, just less urgent. Over time, stable becomes normal. And anything that disrupts normal starts to feel way unnecessary. The more people who rely on you, the less volatility feels acceptable. Employees, clients, family members, long-term contracts, you carry more weight. So bold moves stop feeling strategic. They start feeling selfish. And once something starts to feel selfish, you start to avoid it. You don't decide to shrink. You just decide to protect it repeatedly. See, here's where caution becomes who you are. Over time, you start describing yourself a little bit differently. You'll say you're careful. You'll say you're responsible. You'll say you don't need unnecessary risks. Careful sounds wise. Aggressive sounds immature. Eventually, bold moves just don't feel risky. They feel out of character for you. That's when dependence becomes internal. You don't feel limited, you feel sensible. If your past few years have mostly been about protecting revenue, avoiding instability, and reducing exposure, your risk tolerance most likely have shifted a little bit. Not because you're afraid, but because your structure you're in rewards caution. Here's where the expansion window closes. Growth actually requires instability. New markets, new offers, new positions, and new exposure. All these create uncertainty. But when predictability becomes the main priority, uncertainty feels most definitely unnecessary. You stop scanning and looking for big upsides, and you turn around and you look to avoid the downsides. Now, opportunity still exists. It just no longer passes your internal filter. So your future range shrinks right here. The future doesn't disappear, it just gets narrower. Only stable paths remain. Income continues, work continues, the structure continues. But deviation becomes rare, not impossible, just rare. That's when dependence becomes direction. Dependence begins and starts as stability. It grows through responsibility and it hardens through repetition. And it eventually changes what feels reasonable to actually attempt to do. When risk begins to feel dangerous instead of strategic, growth actually slows down without you noticing it. Not collapse, not dramatic fail, just contraction. So the real question isn't whether you're dependent, it's whether your definition of smart has already narrowed your future. Because once caution feels responsible, continuation feels right. And that which feels right is what becomes permanent. This is your boy J.I., a random podcast. I'll holler at you on the other side.